The world does not reward innocence. It does not reward purity, sincerity, or naive goodness. It rewards strength, cunning, and the brutal instinct to survive. Yet we are raised to believe otherwise. From childhood, we are told that honesty is the best policy, that kindness will return to us multiplied, that virtue is its own reward. But step into the real world, and you will learn quickly. Honesty can get you punished, kindness can make you a target, and virtue can make you a fool. The world does not protect the naive, it crushes them. Niccolo Machiavelli knew this 500 years ago. He wrote The Prince not as a guide for angels, but as a survival manual for wolves forced to live among other wolves. His words were not meant to inspire comfort, but to prepare rulers for the reality of human nature, that people are fickle, self-interested, treacherous, that they will love you today and betray you tomorrow, that they will swear loyalty when convenient, then abandon you at the first sign of weakness. To thrive in such a world, Machiavelli said, you must abandon illusions and arm yourself with necessity. And this is the first law of his survival manual. See people as they are, not as they pretend to be. Naive people see masks. They believe in appearances, in words, in promises. Survivors see beneath the mask. They understand that morality, affection, loyalty are performances, fragile and conditional. The friend who swears to stand by you may vanish when the storm comes. The partner who promises fidelity may betray the moment temptation appears. The people who cheer you in triumph may curse you in failure. The naive are shocked by betrayal. The survivor expects it. This is why Machiavelli insisted that a prince must always assume betrayal, always prepare for disloyalty. Not because everyone is evil, but because everyone is self-interested. And when their interests conflict with yours, loyalty breaks. The survivor does not take betrayal personally. He calculates it, prepares for it, uses it. The naive weep at broken promises. The survivor sharpens his strategy. The second law of the survival manual: appear good, but be ready to act evil. The naive believe that goodness alone will protect them. They expose themselves with honesty. They forgive too easily. They sacrifice until nothing is left. And the world rewards them with exploitation. Survivors know better. They wear the mask of goodness because people demand it, but they do not rely on it. They appear merciful when watched, but act ruthlessly when necessary. They appear honest in words but conceal what must remain hidden. They appear generous but give only when generosity secures advantage. They understand that morality is theater, and theater keeps the crowd calm. But survival depends on what happens behind the curtain. Do you see the difference? The naive cling to morality as armor and discover too late that it is paper. The survivor wields morality as a mask, a shield of appearances, while carrying steel beneath it. And when the moment comes to choose between appearing good and surviving, the survivor chooses survival, always. The third law: be feared when you cannot be loved. Naive people believe love is enough. They believe affection will protect them, loyalty will endure, admiration will shield them. But love is fragile. It vanishes in hardship. It turns into resentment at the first disappointment. Fear, on the other hand, is reliable. People may not love you, but if they fear crossing you, they will hesitate. If they know you can punish betrayal, they will think twice before committing it. Love is optional. Fear is essential. Machiavelli did not suggest cruelty for pleasure. He suggested fear as insurance, because he knew that affection evaporates, but fear endures. The naive ruler is loved until the crowd grows hungry, and then he is overthrown. The survivor is feared enough that even the hungry think twice before revolting. The difference is survival. The fourth law: control appearances, even if you cannot control reality. The naive believe reality speaks for itself. They think their actions will be understood as they are. But the crowd does not see reality. It sees the performance. A ruler who appears weak is treated as weak, even if he is secretly strong. A ruler who appears generous is loved, even if his generosity is rare. Survivors craft appearances carefully. They stage acts of virtue, even while practicing vice. They master masks because masks matter more than truth. Think about your own life. How often have you been judged not for what you truly are, but for what you appeared to be? How often has the mask mattered more than the face? Survivors accept this and use it. Naive people rebel against it, insisting truth should be enough. But truth alone does not survive in the theater of human perception. The performance is everything. And finally, the fifth law: do what is necessary, not what is ideal. This is the heart of Machiavelli's manual. Ideals are beautiful. Justice, honesty, kindness, faith. These are noble words. But when survival is on the line, ideals are luxuries. The naive cling to them until they are destroyed. Survivors use them when convenient and discard them when dangerous. The question is never what is right, but always what works. And in a brutal world, survival is the highest morality. This is why the naive are crushed. They follow ideals into ruin. They assume loyalty where none exists, honesty where lies thrive, love where fear dominates. They confuse theater for reality, masks for faces, promises for guarantees, and the world punishes them without mercy. But the survivors, the Machiavellian minds, see the world as it is. They play the game as it must be played, and because of that, they endure. So let me ask you directly, are you still naive? Do you still cling to illusions of morality, love, loyalty, truth? Or are you ready to face the brutality of reality and learn how to survive in it? Comment your answer below. Subscribe if you want to keep sharpening your mind against illusions. Share this with someone still trapped in innocence, and watch how they respond when they hear the medicine Machiavelli prescribed. Because this is only the beginning. In the next part, we will go deeper into the specific tactics of survival, how to master masks, how to calculate cruelty, how to balance generosity with manipulation, how to use enemies to your advantage. The world will not protect you, but Machiavelli can teach you how to protect yourself. The manual is open. The question is, will you dare to read it? Survival is not an accident. It is not granted by fortune or fate. It is built, step by step, through tactics that most people are too soft to use. Machiavelli understood this. He stripped away illusions and gave us the raw mechanics of thriving in a hostile world. If you want to survive, not just scrape by but endure, you must learn these tactics. They are not noble, they are not pure, but they work. And in a world that crushes the naive, effectiveness is the only morality. The first tactic is the mask of virtue. People judge by appearances. They rarely look deeper. If you appear merciful, honest, generous, and faithful, you will be trusted, even if you are none of those things. Naive people waste energy trying to be virtuous. Survivors conserve energy by appearing virtuous. A carefully staged act of kindness is more powerful than a lifetime of quiet sincerity. A single dramatic gesture of honesty convinces more than years of subtle truthfulness. Machiavelli's lesson is clear. What people believe about you matters more than what you are. Control belief, and you control power. The second tactic is calculated cruelty. The naive recoil from cruelty, believing it makes them monstrous. But Machiavelli warned that cruelty, when used with precision, is not evil. It is necessary. A leader who punishes decisively earns fear, and fear prevents rebellion. A boss who fires one employee ruthlessly discourages dozens from crossing him. A person who retaliates once, clearly and without hesitation, often prevents future attacks. The key is calculation. Cruelty must be swift, controlled, and purposeful. Random cruelty breeds hatred. Calculated cruelty breeds obedience. The third tactic is the economy of generosity. Naive people give constantly, hoping to buy love. But constant generosity drains resources and earns contempt, People begin to expect gifts, and once expectations rise, gratitude dies. Survivors give rarely, but strategically. They stage generosity like theater. One grand gesture at the right moment, one sacrifice that secures loyalty, one favor that buys a lasting debt. By giving less, they make each gift more valuable. Naive people scatter their wealth like confetti. Survivors spend it like a scalpel. The fourth tactic is divide and rule. The naive try to unite everyone, believing harmony creates strength. Survivors know that unity among others is a threat. A ruler surrounded by allies who love each other too much risks becoming irrelevant. A boss with a team too loyal to itself risks rebellion. A person whose friends bond too tightly without him risks exclusion. Machiavelli's tactic is to divide, subtly, invisibly, so that others compete for your favor, rather than conspiring against you. It is better to be the axis around which rivalries spin than the target of their united strength. The fifth tactic is weaponized enemies. Naive people fear enemies and try to eliminate them. Survivors use them. An enemy can unify a divided people, distract from internal problems, and justify necessary cruelty. A ruler under threat of invasion can demand loyalty. A company under siege by competitors can demand sacrifice from workers. Even in personal life, a well-chosen enemy sharpens your focus and strengthens your allies' dependence on you. The key is not to have no enemies, but to have the right enemies, and to make sure they are visible enough to justify your power. The sixth tactic is controlling narratives. Human beings live on stories. They do not follow cold facts, they follow meaning. The naive think truth will persuade people. The survivor knows truth alone is powerless. You must frame reality as a story people can believe. You must give them villains and heroes, victories and dangers. A ruler who frames his war as a defense of justice wins support, even if it is only for conquest. A CEO who calls layoffs sacrifices for the future retains loyalty, even as he destroys livelihoods. A person who frames cruelty as necessary discipline keeps respect. Control the narrative, and you control minds. The seventh tactic is calculated absence. Naive people make themselves constantly available, believing presence guarantees loyalty. Survivors understand that absence creates demand. A ruler who appears rarely, with grandeur, is revered more than one constantly visible. A person who withholds time and attention increases their value. Even love follows this rule. Constant presence dulls passion, while absence sharpens it. Machiavelli teaches us that scarcity, not abundance, creates power. The eighth tactic is flexibility of conscience. Naive people cling to consistency. One rule, one belief, one morality. Survivors adapt. They change alliances when necessary, shift principles when survival demands, betray yesterday's truth for today's advantage. The world changes constantly. Rigidity is suicide. Flexibility is survival. The survivor does not ask, "What is the right thing?" but "What works here now?" The naive are broken by contradiction. Survivors thrive in it. These tactics are not theory. You see them in the world around you every day. Politicians performing goodness while manipulating in the shadows. Executives wielding selective generosity to silence critics. Media spinning narratives to control perception. Even in families, friendships, relationships, these tactics appear. The partner who withholds affection to increase demand. The friend who divides others to keep influence. The colleague who tells a partial truth to gain trust while hiding deeper motives. Machiavelli did not invent these tactics. He revealed them. And now you must decide. Do you remain naive, refusing to play, insisting the world reward purity when it never will? Or do you learn to use these tactics not out of malice, but out of necessity, to protect yourself, to endure, to thrive? Because here is the darker truth. If you do not use these tactics, someone will use them against you. If you refuse to wear masks, you will be blinded by others who do. If you refuse to use cruelty, you will suffer at the hands of those who do not hesitate. If you cling to generosity, loyalty, honesty without strategy, you will be exploited until you are empty. Survival is not a choice. It is the condition of life. The only choice is whether you survive with awareness or perish in innocence. Stay. Subscribe. Comment below. Which of these tactics have you already seen used against you? Which ones have you used, even without realizing it? Share this with someone who still believes sincerity is enough, and watch how quickly they dismiss it, or secretly recognize themselves in it. And prepare for the final part. Because in Block 3, we will explore the last stage of the survival manual, the collapse of naivete, the acceptance of masks, and the path of those rare few who rise above even Machiavelli's tactics. You will see not only how to survive, but how to endure when the mask itself begins to crack. The manual is not finished. The last chapter is waiting. The mask protects you. The tactics preserve you. The performance deceives others long enough for you to endure. But every mask is heavy, and every performance consumes. This is the final chapter of the survival manual. Not only how to thrive in a brutal world, but how to survive the weight of surviving itself. Because even the cleverest Machiavellian faces the danger of being consumed by his own strategy. The naive are crushed by their illusions, but the manipulator, if careless, is crushed by his own masks. This is the hidden cost of survival. You wear the mask so long that you begin to forget your true face. You calculate cruelty so carefully that one day you no longer distinguish necessity from appetite. You tell stories so convincingly that you start believing them yourself. This is the paradox. The survivor escapes naivete only to risk imprisonment in his own deception. Machiavelli knew this. That is why he spoke not of permanent victories, but of constant vigilance. Power is never secure. Survival is never final. Every tactic must be recalibrated. Every mask must be adjusted. The ruler who thinks he has won becomes vulnerable. The survivor who forgets he is surviving begins to fall. Survival is not a destination, it is a discipline. It must be practiced daily, like sharpening a blade. And here is the cruel truth. The world does not stop testing you. The naive hope that if they are kind enough, honest enough, patient enough, the world will relent. The survivor knows the world never relents. The wolves never stop circling. The rivals never stop watching. The betrayals never stop coming. To survive is to remain awake. The moment you sleep, the trap closes. But there is another stage, one darker and rarer. A stage that even Machiavelli only hinted at. It is the stage of those who rise beyond tactics, who no longer cling to masks or morality, who stop pretending even to themselves. These few embrace the naked truth, that life is struggle, that survival is the only law, that appearances are theater. And in that acceptance, they shed fear. They are no longer desperate to appear good, no longer desperate to appear strong. They are simply willing to do what must be done, with no illusion, no shame, no hesitation. Such people are terrifying. They cannot be manipulated by appearances because they know appearances are nothing. They cannot be disarmed by guilt because they no longer cling to morality. They cannot be broken by betrayal because they never expected loyalty. They are beyond naivete and beyond performance. And because of this, they are rare. Most cannot bear such clarity. Most would rather live in illusions, even fragile ones, than stare into that abyss. But ask yourself, where do you want to stand? Among the naive, crushed by betrayal, punished for sincerity. Among the cunning, endlessly maintaining masks, living in the exhaustion of calculation. Or in that darker, lonelier space, where illusions die and survival becomes second nature? There is no easy answer, but ignoring the question guarantees you remain prey. This is why Machiavelli still matters. His survival manual is not comfortable, it does not flatter, it does not promise fairness. It tells you the world is a battlefield, and you must choose, soldier commander, or casualty. Naive people are casualties, survivors become commanders, and those who transcend both become something else entirely, players of a game so deep that others don't even realize it is being played. So what will you choose? To live honestly and perish? To pretend and endure? Or to awaken, abandon illusions, and move through the world with the clarity of a predator who no longer needs excuses? I will not give you the answer, because this manual is not about obedience. It is about seeing. It is about stripping away the lies that make you weak, the illusions that make you prey. If you are still listening now, then you are not ordinary. Ordinary people would have turned away. They would have demanded comfort, not clarity. But you stayed. You chose the discomfort of truth. And that choice is the first act of survival. So subscribe if you dare to keep walking this path. Comment below. Are you still naive? Or are you ready to step into the discipline of survival? Share this with someone who still clings to illusions, if only to see how fiercely they resist it. Because nothing reveals the naive faster than their refusal to accept reality. Machiavelli's survival manual is not finished. It is written every day in your choices, in your masks, in your calculations. You are either writing it or being written by it. And in this world, only one rule matters. The naive are crushed. Survivors endure. Which one are you?